Hello, this is Doug Gerlach from iClub Central and myICLUB. Welcome to our Investment Club webinar. Today is Tuesday, June 16th, 2025. Our topic tonight is handling cash and money market funds in myICLUB. We've recently made a bunch of improvements to how money markets are handled from an accounting and reporting perspective in myICLUB. So we're going to take this opportunity to review some of the practices for using money market funds, how to account for them in your investment club books and in the record keeping. Tonight, our presentation is going to be presented by Sean Pulrang, who is a member of our customer support team. And he will be taking the lead. Also in the back office, we have Russell Malley, our investment club accounting advisor, and Treva Dildine is also here from the Better Vesting support staff, and I'll be in the back office as well. So the presentation handout is available in the handouts tab of the GoToWebinar application. So you feel free to download that handout, print it quickly, or save it for future reference. And we always archive those handouts when we archive the webinar video on our YouTube channel. The questions box is also available there, so feel free to type in your questions at any time. We will be we will have a couple of breaks in the presentation where we will be addressing questions. So with that, Sean, please take it away and tell us about what's new in myICLUB. We've done a number of new features that we've introduced. So beyond the money market handling improvements that we've made, there's also some additional features. But I'll turn it over to you now, Sean.
All right, thanks very much, Doug. So we're going to open up, give a little bit of an overview here. So as Doug mentioned, we've got a few new features that we haven't really talked about much in the webinars. So we're going to cover a few of those and then dig in, going over some of the basics of money market funds, some of dealing with money market funds in myICLUB. Rounding out near the end, we're going to do a couple screens on some of the new reports, or I shouldn't say new reports, but features in the reports that have been updated expressly for the money markets, and then sort of round out at the end with some of our pros and cons, do's and don'ts for money markets for clubs in general. So as I said, right at the top, I'm going to go do a little spin through some of the things that we have not yet really spent much time on in the webinars. First things first, this is one of the very newest ones, the deferred capital gains reports. If you've looked at the complete journal ledger at any point in time, you've probably noticed a column that says unrealized gains. This deferred capital gains is an expansion of that. It's a report that details what all those capital gains are. It takes the gains that you can show it by the member who's withdrawn. You can show it by the members who are remaining. It gives you more information than just the single line on the complete journal ledger. You see here we've got it set as a withdrawn members, and so you can see that means in this case each of those three members has taken a withdrawal that's involved some shares of stock. There's another view that will show you other way around that will say for the remaining members what their share of those deferred capital gains are from having the withdrawals. And again, just to be clear, this is only for withdrawals where shares of stock have been transferred to a member who's taking the withdrawal. So again, this is one of our very newest ones. It is on the reports page if you want to take a look, see, and again, only for withdrawals involving transfer of shares. We've also got, and a few folks have seen this, we did send out, I think, an email a little while ago, but again, haven't really spent a lot of time. We've introduced the club's public homepage. You can take a look at this. The settings are right there. You'll sign into the site as normal. This is not the home tab that you see when you first sign in. It's something brand new. So you'll go up from accounting to utilities. On the utilities page, you'll see a new link there that will say public homepage. You pick, or I should say you click that. You get a few options, some information you can fill in. You can put in a little bit of a bio. There's a few other options there that are selectable. By default, if you haven't looked at this, it is not public. We didn't activate this without asking. The page is private. It's only public if you specifically go in and mark to say, yes, we want to have this page public out on the internet. And I'll show you a little bit of the screens here in a minute, but we do also want to assure you that this does not make any of the members' personal information available on the internet. It is entirely based on the portfolio. We also want to say this is not intended to be an advertisement for the club. In particular, as Russell may be able to speak on a little bit further, there are specific rules that do prohibit clubs from doing anything that might be considered advertising. So as I said, this is accounting to utilities, public homepage. We've got some of the settings here. And like I said, some of it, you get text boxes. You can put in how you want the club name to show up. If you want to have a contact, email, location, years founded, you can put in a little blurb there. And then front and center, this is a listing of the reports or the reports sections that will show up. And as I say, I'll show you the screens in a second. It is not the full report. We've done some selections here, again, for the heat map and the holdings and so forth. So here's some overview of what you get. Again, as I said, left side, you get the heat map. You get a little bit of the portfolio diversification. We've done, in this case, that is set to show both sector diversification and size. You'll see it says files there. This is similar in the file storage. Again, we're not making everything public right away. This is only for files that you have specifically gone to the file storage and marked to say, we want this file to be available to the public. And as I say, again, you can see sort of in the background there, you get the portfolio control panel, club watch list, that heat map shows up again. A lot of this is, again, it's information that shows up in the reports. It's not maybe quite as in-depth, obviously, because it's all on one screen as the club has access to, but we think it's a good way for clubs to be able to represent themselves out in the wide world there. Now, another one that we've introduced recently, the myICLUB Data Protection Plan. So this is specifically for clubs that are disbanding, maybe about to disband. The thing is, the information needs to be kept around. Those of you who are familiar will know that the IRS wants you to keep the information on hand for several years. This data protection plan means that we guarantee that it will be. And we're expecting here this to give you the peace of mind that the data will be there if you need it, right? That even if you have a computer crash, even if you've printed everything out and the dog eats all your tax forms, that we will keep a copy of all of the club's information. This includes all of the club's complete accounting data. Again, as I mentioned, for at least 7 years. This includes if something happens, again, you've printed out your computer crashes, you printed out your dog ate it, or your computer gets hit by a lightning strike, God knows what happens. We let you sign back in. You can print out all the records. If something happens, you need to redo an old transaction. You need to get a copy of the tax forms. We reactivate the club. You get signed in. You get what you need. You will have access to any of the tax printers that the club used while it was in regular operation. And as always, if you do need this sort of help, again, entering a transaction, you've got a question on something that you think might not have been done right, whatever the case might be, we will be here to help you out. And this is a one-time payment. It's $150, and that will cover, as I said, the entire 7 years worth. This is available out on the store page right now. If you click to do a renewal through the website, it'll be one of the options. And again, this is not something that you necessarily need to get right now. At the bottom, it'll make a note here that says it should be made within 30 days of the club's myICLUB account expiration. So this is something, it's something you want to keep in mind, but again, it's not the sort of thing that you should be going out as a insurance as any sort of a just in case. This again is only for clubs that are in the process or have just recently gone through a closing themselves. We've also added, and again, this is one that if you've poked around a little bit, you may already have seen this, support for custodial accounts. This is something we've set up on the people page to support club members who are minors. We let you now select as a UGMA or UTMA account. Because they're minors, you do have to have a custodian. We've set it up, custodians can be either active members in the club, or if you've invited and added someone under the heading of a guest, you can also select that person as the custodian. Now, we don't have you put in your birthday, so the site does not automatically transfer from a custodial to a regular account. When the time comes, you do still need to do that operation manually, but the nice part is, at least while the account is listed as such, it will be printed on any of the tax forms that you generate that this is a custodial account. And this is one that we are going to be talking about a little bit more in depth next month. So I'm not going to spend too much time on that. Just a quick screen capture here to say this is where it shows up. And again, this is if you've gone to the people page, you click the member's profile, you click edit, you'll see these options that will show up under entity and name for custodial account. You say not applicable, nothing happens. If you choose one of those two options, the UGMA, UTMA, then the custodial, or sorry, I should say custodian dropdown shows up. And as I mentioned, you can choose essentially any member of the club or even someone who's marked just as a visitor. So I did just mention that upcoming webinar next month, including the talk about support for custodial accounts. So take just a little bit of a breather here for a second to show our upcoming schedule for the year. We've got in August some do's and don'ts for beneficiaries. September, balancing the club's books. Tuesday, or I should say November 18th, we've got the year-end investment club portfolio cleanup. I think that's going to be a popular one. And closing towards the end of the year and beginning of early next, we've got closing the investment books, preparing club's 2025 tax returns, and the 2025 investment club tax clinic. So you'll notice I skipped over October. Right now, TBD, to be decided. This is where I want to say encourage folks to send in support requests, use our ticketing system. If there's a topic that you think that you'd like to have us spend a little bit of extra time on, this is your opportunity. Send in your votes, get things counted, let us know, and we'll see what we can do about getting the top scoring vote or the top requested option in there for October. So with that, do we have any questions to highlight there?
Sean, we're doing great in the back office, so go on and tell people about the money market funds.
All right, sounds good. All right, so here we go. Sort of the meat here, the overview for money market funds. So this one, starting off, if you're not already aware, just a moment here, what is a money market? This is something most brokerage firms have been making use of for a while. They will take the money, invest, or gosh, I remember I've seen this wording talking to folks. They'll sweep the money into a security known as a money market fund. So money markets, it's a type of mutual fund that tends to or invests in what's expected to be a lower risk, short-term debt securities, treasury bills, commercial paper. Again, short-term debt instruments issued by corporations. The main point here is to provide a safe and stable option to having just a standard cash account at the brokerage. So things to remember or things to understand on the money markets there. Their aim is to maintain a constant essentially $1 in air quotes per share net asset value. Very rarely, as we understand, that may fall below the $1. Again, pretty rare, but if it does, this can result in a liquidation of the fund. I will say, in the time I've been here, I don't recall I've ever run into that. So it's just one of those we have to cover all the bases and mention it has happened. I should also mention here in this case, now we're talking about potential having to liquidate. Money market funds are covered, not by FDIC, but by the SIPC. So there's a little bit of coverage there. We also say here that there are revised SEC rules that started in 2010 that were aimed to better manage the money market funds, again, to prevent those sort of closures. So again, they are intended to be safe, if not particularly exciting. This is where we talk about some of the pros and cons. So as I mentioned 3 or 4 times in the previous screen, one of the biggest pros is low risk, safe investment, very liquid. It's even with brokers allowing for doing all of your work through the website, it can still take a couple of days sometimes for everything to get settled if you're buying or selling shares. So a money market can be a little bit more liquid method of getting storing your money somewhere. Again, not FDIC, but still insured SIPC. And unless you've got a magic savings account that you can tell us about in the comments, almost guaranteed the money market will have a higher return than any savings account that you might run across. So again, one of the biggest things tends to be a very safe investment. Now, on the downside, they are tied fairly closely to changes in interest rates. Again, tends to be better than a savings account, but you can still have a little bit of a loss there. Not the FDIC insurance that you might be used to. So that's a little unusual for some folks, might cause you a little bit of caution. And as folks who are all in investment clubs, one of the biggest things is you're never going to see any appreciation outside of the dividends. The price is never going to go up. You're never going to see that dollar. It's never going to spike and be $3, $5, $10, or $100. It's always going to be $1 a share. So again, it's the sort of thing where if you're in an investment club, it's nice to keep it there for a little bit, but we do, as always, encourage investments in actual securities. So do have, because they are sort of a little bit of a gray area sometimes, there are 2 ways to record money markets and money market transactions in our accounting system. You can do just as a basic cash account, create an account, make your deposits, make your transfers, or as a security. Every money market has a ticker symbol. You could put the ticker symbol in, you can do your buys and your sells. There's some pros and cons to each of those options, but we do say that, at least as far as tax and accounting perspective, it is essentially the same, regardless of which method you're using. It's going to be very much up to what the club is comfortable with and how the broker is reporting what's the easiest for you to record off of their statements. So, as I mentioned, cash is probably one of the easiest ways. You create an account, you name it however you want to name it. You're not entering buys and sells and dividends. If you're putting money into the money market or taking money out, it is just a transfer transaction from brokerage to money market, or the other way around. If you do, or I should say, when you earn your interest or your dividend, you go into the cash section. Interest is a long-standing transaction. It's right there. Again, we want to point out that as far as the taxes are concerned, this is the same at the end of the year when you're filling out the forms. And also, I want to say that when you're going over reconciling the books, you do want to take a moment, recognize money market shares will be listed on brokerage statements are really just cash. So again, this is maybe one of the easiest ways to do it. Requires the least entry, the least adjustment. Optionally, and this is something we've done a bit of work on recently, is you can set this up as a security. Again, everything has a ticker symbol. You type in the ticker symbol. You will put in your buys and your sells is how you're going to show the money going in and out. You add $1,000 to your money market. You buy 1,000 of the money market. Vice versa. If you are moving money out of it, you enter a sell. There's no capital gain because everything is at that $1 quote per share. So you never have to worry about that. And as you're getting money or you're earning money, you're using the reinvest transaction from accounting under securities. So it's long-standing transactions. We haven't added any new transactions. There's nothing to worry about there. We do feel this is one of the balancing pieces that while the cash entries are easier to make and record in the club books, we think that at least the way the brokers are listing money markets on their statements, we think that these days it may still be easier when you're reconciling at the end of the month if you've got it set up as a security. Again, it will create more transactions. You've got the buys and the sells instead of just a simple transfer. But again, that's one of the things that you get for treating it as a security. I would say also, when you're doing the monthly valuation, you only have to really fill this in once. The site will remember, but the first time you enter a new valuation after putting money in the money market, the first time you do have to enter that it's a $1, quote, again, quote, per share. Every month after that, the site will remember that $1. It will ask you to confirm, but you won't have to type it in. It's just something that that'll just happen there. All right, and this is also something that our site does attempt to recognize and auto treat the money markets correctly, but we do encourage, just in case, if nothing else, then for the reports, that once you add a money market for the first time, you do want to go under accounting, securities, and that update security settings. If nothing else, you got the ticker symbol in, but if nothing else, the site does not generally pick up the names. So if you type in and you buy SPAXX, then on the reports, it just shows up as SPAXX. So if nothing else, encourage you, come under that security settings, give it an actual regular name, along with all the other securities. It just looks a little bit nicer on the reports. And since you're there, I encourage you go under that security type, change it from common stock, which our site defaults to fixed income. Because we're not picking up prices, you leave that quote symbol at the bottom of the box or the bottom of the page blank. You click submit. And again, it's just something nice to do. Gets your reports a little bit cleaned up, helps the system out. Everybody wins there. So next up, I'm going to talk about the money markets in some of the reports and statements. So we've done a bit of work. It's a little behind the scenes. It might be a little subtle, but we have done some work, and now every single report should show and treat money markets as if they are part of the cash in the club holdings. It used to be separated out, and it was kind of honestly a little confusing to see SPACs in with with your Walmarts and your Nvidias and everything else. So now we've moved that down a little bit, or moved that a little bit separate, so that the system again will attempt to auto-identify anything ending with that has a 5-letter ticker symbol that ends in the XX. But again, just in case you do want to do that, screen as I mentioned a second ago, the security settings mark it as a fixed income. And what you'll get, and again, if you've got a money market, you've seen this already, that it'll show up on the valuation in the same section as your brokerage suspense, and if you've got one set up, a bank account. This is something also you'll notice if you go look into the portfolio reports, that it'll show, again, the money market in the section for cash and other. In a lot of those portfolio reports, it'll show, portfolio diversification reports will now treat SPACs as money. So on any of those reports where you see the little checkbox that says to show this report without cash included, you make that check mark. Now it will hide both your broker, bank, and also the money market funds from those calculations. We've also, on the front page, on the club home, on the portfolio heat map, we now have one unified block for cash. And again, this is something that was sometimes a little confusing, that you would see cash and you would see then that money market as a separate entry. So now it's all just under the one heading or the one box of cash on that club homepage, and also shows up in the grand total at the bottom of that heat map, shows cash being broker, bank, money market, whatever other cases you might have. So have we got, I see the little thing lighting up saying there have been some questions, but is there anything to highlight there?
Yes, Sean. Kathleen asks if the treasurer's been recording money market accounts under as cash transactions, can they be switched to treating it as a security? And also, if you've been doing it as a security, can you switch to accounting for it as cash?
Oh, sure. I mean, this is one of the nice things, the fact that there isn't there's no capital gain on it. So certainly, if you've been treating it as a cash account, you can certainly enter again, as I say, you enter a buy, using air quotes there, at $1 a share, and you move the money from a cash into a security. And again, if you've been treating it as a security, same thing applies in reverse. You've been doing it as $1 a share the entire time. You could very easily enter a sell, and again, I use this in air quotes, but enter a sell transaction. And if you wanted to, in this case, I would say, well, I don't want to even say if you wanted to, I would say if you do that, definitely make sure you set up a separate cash account when you do that sale, so that you're keeping track of it separate from your regular brokerage account.
There was another, I don't know if this is really a question, but John says that in their club, their money market, they have a money market, and they've been taking the distributions, the dividends from the money market, and putting it into their cash balance. So they're not, recording shares of the money market or reinvestments. And that seems like sort of a hybrid approach. If you're holding a money market fund as a security, and you're taking the dividends, recording them as interest. Again, at the end of the day, on the tax forms, that's all going to be not a problem, as long as you remember, can reconcile. But that hybrid approach, I think, is a little confusing, and so I would suggest going one way or the other. Either
Yeah,
treat it
same.
like a security or treat it like cash.
I would say the same. I mean, I have one myself, and I know on my statements it is very distinct, that it does not show the cash from the money market being in the regular brokerage account. It shows the adjusted balance from whatever the dividend is on the money market in the money market section. So, I mean, it's one of those. Well, you could. I wouldn't, as you mentioned. I would keep them either all in the all the money market transactions there, or just, and I suppose at that point you might move it all to cash. Again, I think that's the case, is keep it simple. If you've got it listed as if you've got it listed as a security, do all the transactions under security. To me, it's a big part of that is that way. If or when you switch treasurers, you don't get someone who comes in and forgets to read the post-it note that says this is how we've been doing it. They'll get the first statement and they'll wonder why the dividend doesn't make sense all of a sudden. So that's maybe a topic, a longer topic for a longer discussion another time. Let me move on a little bit here.
Yep, let's go ahead and talk about some of our top tips for using money markets and cash accounting in myICLUB.
Exactly. So right off the bat, we're going to say avoid tax-free money market funds. This is this case. I think most of these you're probably not going to see, but just in case, we say don't use tax-free money markets. You might say that leads to the question of how do you tell that you want to look for, and in this case, avoid, I feel ironic saying you want to avoid the government, you want to avoid tax-exempt, tax-free, or municipal in the name of the money market. Yes, these are free from federal and some state and local taxes. However, there are a handful of states, New York, Wisconsin, California, that do require additional reporting. And if nothing else, that's not supported in our system. Also, we feel that in general, the savings per member are likely to be so small that it's not worth any additional paperwork or lines that you'd have to fill out. So again, just use your regular, your SPACs, your VACs. I don't remember the other names, they escape me at the moment, but take a look at whatever ones are the top offerings. And as long as you don't see government, tax exempt, tax free in the name, you should be fine there. I also want to say, it feels a little odd talking about having all the money in here and having it be a better holding than just a regular checking or savings account. That said, we do strongly suggest that clubs are best when they've got as much cash invested as possible. Even with a money market, you will presumably, if you've picked some good stocks or you're getting good dividends, that the return on the cash in the money market is going to tend to be low relative to the returns that you're hopefully getting on the stocks, such that holding a large balance in a money market long term is not really a great thing to do. Obviously, month to month, you might let it build up as you're deciding what company to buy, but it's not something you want to do for a long-term investment. Also, don't use it. Don't treat it as a just in case for member withdrawals. Don't say, well, we want to have 2,000 or 3,000 on hand just in case someone needs to take a withdrawal. I think that there are plenty of ways to raise cash for withdrawals, whether that means selling off some shares or whether that means having some of the members make a little bit extra or additional payments, on top of which, depending on your broker, if you've got your Fidelity or your Sieberts, we do encourage, especially for those full withdrawals, doing a transfer of shares. And we also think that it's almost never a bad time to do a little portfolio management, take a look at the stocks that you're holding, decide whether all of them are still a good deal, whether they're still performing. And this could be a good example or a good time to say, well, maybe this stock that's only been growing at 5 or 6% despite being a small or medium company, maybe it's time that we turn around and sell that sell some shares of that, put the money somewhere else, a little bit better use maybe. Also going to suggest keeping the cash account simple, keep it to a minimum. I talked with a club a little while ago that had multiple different. I think they had the brokerage account, they had a checking account at a credit union. They had somehow they had a Venmo account listed on the club, and I think they had one of the other cash transfer programs listed as well. And they had the treasurer was going 5 different directions trying to keep track of everything. So you suggest as much as possible minimize. Get your brokerage account, keep a suspense account. We're talking about money markets, keep your money market, and again, simplify yourself down to having as few accounts as possible. I also suggest, and this might sound obvious, being that we are a site that offers an accounting software, but we do encourage reconcile your cash monthly, reconcile the whole club monthly. We do have a built-in reconcile function. It's off of the accounting section. I don't know how many folks are using it, but it's worth going through. It'll keep track. Basically, you do all the entries, you go into that reconcile, and it lets you double check versus what you've put in and the brokerage statement. Helps you find those little differences there. I will say it's not unusual that we find clubs will sort of brush aside what they consider small small errors from month to month until it'll hit some threshold 6, 9, 18 months later, when someone in the club will say, you know, our books have been off $5, and that $5 has been growing every single month for the last year and a half. Why? And then the club, and then the treasurer, usually the treasurer, the poor treasurer, has to go back through 7, 8, 10, 15, 20 months worth of statements to figure out why did that difference happen in the first place, and what's been causing it. So as much as possible, we very much encourage do your reconciliation every month. A penny or two here and there, maybe not such a big deal. Maybe you forgot an interest one time. Maybe the broker tracks prices out five decimal places and rounds a little bit differently than we do. If the total portfolio is a penny or two off, not so much. But if you start getting into a couple dollars and that couple dollars grows every month, again, I speak from experience, it can be a terrible headache trying to go back through a year and a half worth of statements there. I will also suggest as much as brokers have started offering checking accounts and trying to be sort of all in one, don't forget using a suspense account is still an option there, especially if, as the treasurer, you're collecting checks over the course of maybe a couple of days, and then either mailing or depositing in a batch entry. Then I suggest you can use the individual checks coming in. You can make the deposit entries in the system, deposit into suspense, and then once it gets to the point when you actually are doing the transfer or the whole deposit into the bank account, or if you've deposited to the bank and you're moving over to the broker, it's a good option, again, to use that suspense account. Put the money there to begin with as you're making those deposit entries, so that you're not trying to keep track of, well, who paid on Monday, who paid on Tuesday, who paid on Thursday. You make the entries when they happen, put them suspense. Once you've got everything done, take it all, move it over to the bank or the broker, wherever it's going to end up. And this allows you to show that the cash is sort of in transit on the books. It's definitely a club asset, but reminds you that you do need to take care of that before the money is available to use for investing. So do we got anything? I'll say it doesn't look like the little light is lit up. Is there anything else there?
I think you're good, Sean. So let's keep going.
Okay. So closing out, I mentioned this before, and give folks another look at that. We've got the webinars that we know are coming up, and we've got that October TBD. And so this is at the bottom. I mentioned earlier putting in a support request. That's the myiclub.com/support. Put in a ticket. Again, make your suggestions. We're open. We're open for pretty much anything club and investment related. Happy to take a look at whatever might come in there. Otherwise, I will say thanks everyone for coming out tonight. We have had it's been a lot of fun talking to you, going over some of the new features and talking a little bit about the money markets tonight. So otherwise, I will wish everybody a good night, and we'll talk to you in a month.